Hope everybody's having a nice day. Let me do a quick riff. All right, so this is Paint with Lovejoy, and this is our Tweety Bird demo viewer request. All right, and let's see, we've got a few of you jumping on. Hi, Annette and Denise and Mike. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me this morning. All right, so for today's painting, we've got our colors here, rather simple. We will use a knife for the background to apply, and then we'll move into brushwork for our Tweety Bird. So I'm on an 8x10 canvas panel. Some of you may be painting on a stretched canvas where you're going to have a little more width on the side. And if you're on a stretched canvas, I recommend that when your color reaches the edge, carry that color over the tops, the sides, and the bottom, just to make it look nice. And we do have our composition already on the canvas, so you've got two options to get this on your canvas. You can pause the video, draw what you see, and then pick up the video for the painting portion. Or you can, there's a link in the description box below, you can purchase the Traceable, download it, and there we go, okay. It's buffering on my end, but that's on a different internet, so I was just making sure we were connected. Okay, so again, you can purchase the Traceable, download it, print it out, and then with carbon paper, you can transfer it to your canvas background, just because I like playing with the palette knife. And we're going to do my style scraping method. And if you do not want to use a palette knife, you can do this with brushwork. It doesn't have to be with the knife. And getting some of these little fuzzies off the knife. All right, so I am using a smaller knife just because I'm on a smaller canvas. This is a bit more of a traditional shaped knife, and this is usually the one that I use all the time in my own work. So if you have that, feel free to use it. But basically, we're going to be doing a scraping effect on here. So if you don't have a palette knife and you want to do this effect, you can use an old credit card or an old gift card, or even those little squeegee things that come in when you put the screen protectors on your phone. Anything that's going to have kind of a more rigid, straight edge. Even the Home Depot paint scrapers work really well. So we're going to give her a Tweety Bird a blue background. So you can make whatever shade of blue you want. If you want to use that direct blue or a different color, go right ahead. And when you add your white to your blue, that makes it a little bit lighter. And I'm going for about a sky blue mixture. And don't stress too much about being perfect for this particular application. It's actually just a lot of fun. And if you have any anxiety or stresses or frustrations, this is an awesome method to relieve some of those frustrations. So as you can see, I am just kind of pushing my finger right here. This gives a little bit more support. And using pressure, and you'll see me move my brush in different directions, we're literally just kind of scraping it on there. We are coming right up next to those lines. And if you happen to overlap a little bit, because Tweety Bird is yellow, if you happen to get some of your blue in here, I want you to take a paper towel and just wipe it off, so that way we can apply the yellow on top of it. And if you need to, sometimes the smaller knife helps to get into little than a knife for the other part, feel free to do that. If you even feel like finger painting, go right ahead and do that as well. And if you are using the knife or the brush and you need to turn your canvas upside down to make it easier for yourself, go right ahead and do that. Most of my tutorials are merely just suggestions to help you along the path. And if you have to mix your background color a second or third time, don't stress about getting the exact same shade every time. Variety and diversity are your friends in the art world. Hopefully in the rest of the world too. All right, so here you can see that I'm basically just kind of changing it around Tweety Bird's head. So again, feel free to just adjust and change. Painting with the knife's kind of fun because it gets you out of the normal process and control of using a brush, let alone for the therapeutic aspects of this. Oops, and see here, I got a little bit of a lighter color. You can always go back and grab more if you need to adjust, but we will scrape a few colors on top of this as well. And a little bit of note about the traceable, when you transfer your traceable to your surface, it's going to be a lot lighter line than what's on here. I outlined my transfer with Sharpie marker for those of you at home that might pause the video and draw what you see. So if you are doing the traceable option, the carbon transfer isn't as dark as the Sharpie marker, so it actually makes it easier to cover with paint. So don't feel like you have to do the black sharp marker on top of your traceable. All right, and if you guys have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment in the chat or your question in the chat and I'll address them. Nice. And I like that everybody just kind of, you know, hangs out with each other, says hi to each other. I love it. I will be adjusting the structure of the daily demos just because I'm getting more work and going back to new normals. So I'm going to do, let's see, every Friday we'll do a video release premiere to where it'll be a pre-recorded, better edited, no technical issues on those videos. And I should be able to chat with you guys directly and I won't be painting. So we'll see how that goes. I believe next Friday will be our first one for that. Let's see, and then Saturday and Sunday, since those are still my very popular days, I'm still going to do a live demo like this today. And then I'm scheduling stuff to be released on YouTube. So I've got 3 watercolor tutorials for first-time painters. Those will be released next month. I've got the doodles that are about ready to come out. I'm in the final editing stages for that. So just constantly trying to find more things for you guys to be creative and more reasons to come back and hang out on my channel. All right, so I'm actually going to go a little bit darker. So we're going to grab that direct blue by itself. And again, just kind of using that edge right underneath Tweety Bird's feet, just place it on there and scrape down. And with that pressure, some of the underneath color will show, but don't do too much because I'm kind of liking, you know, this effect. Play with that. And you're also kind of playing with what we called in some of the other videos a wet on wet blending method. So this dark blue that you're putting on top of the lighter blue, it may change colors a little bit. All right. And just kind of taking a little of the residual that's still left on the knife and scraping it up a little bit so it's mixing more with that background color. And if you want to throw some of the blue up in here, go for it. I'm going to wipe my knife off and we're actually going to grab some white and I'm going to scrape that right on top. And you'll notice the same thing as what the dark blue happened, where it changed colors a little bit. As you scrape this white on here, you're going to notice very quickly that it changes to a light blue. So just kind of play with that and how the colors mix. In my traditional style, because this is what I usually paint in for my professional work, I'll scrape on about 100 layers of my paintings before I consider them done. And I would actually let this blue paint dry before I scraped the white on. And by letting it dry and then scraping the white on, excuse me, the white will stay more white. It'll stay more of its regular color compared to mixing with the wet paint underneath. So another fun thing to just kind of play with. All right, so we were just going to use the background with the knife. If you do want to continue with the knife work in here, go right ahead. All right, so I'm moving down to the middle flat brush, and it's just because I'm on a smaller canvas. And you do want to make sure, let's see, just a little note, if you used a brush for your background, you know, and you've got all this blue paint and then you cleaned your brush out and your water is a little bit blue, since the yellow is so light, and if we were doing white as well, I do recommend you get a fresh thing of water so that way the blue in the water doesn't contaminate your yellow and turn it into slightly green. So again, before you move into Tweety Bird, make sure you have clean water and a clean brush as we transfer the yellow on there. And again, we're just going to fill all this up, go right to the edge. And if you have time at home, wait for your background to dry. So that way, when you come up to the edges, your blue and your yellow don't mix. And pop quiz, what do you get when you mix blue and yellow? leave a comment, or in the chat or in the replay, leave a comment. All right. And again, I'm using student grade paint. It is on the transparent side, so that's why you have to be a little bit more cautious about what you're mixing with it, since this is such a light color. And being kind of the Looney Tunes flat 2D animation style, there's not a whole lot of shading that actually happens on the Tweety Bird or the other characters. A lot of it comes down to that bold outline that we will do at the end, and then just the really expressive eyes and eyebrows and different little, personification that gives us this connection to Tweety Bird. And if you need to move down to a small pointy brush, feel free to do that. I tend to stick with the same brush for a while, but just because I don't switch doesn't mean you can't. And if you happen to have a few places, we are going to put orange down here, so that will compensate a little bit more, but not much. But if you happen to have a few places like I have right here where the blue did overlap and I didn't wipe it off, you may have to just very lightly apply some pretty thick yellow paint there, let it dry to compensate for the color, and then you might have to apply a second coat. And that's just because it's student grade paint. Your artist grade paint would lay a little more opaque and thick on top of it. And I recommend student grade paint for beginners, just so that way you're not breaking the bank on purchasing a bunch of supplies before you even find out if you enjoy painting. And then as you find out that you enjoy painting a lot, move up to an artist grade paint, one color at a time. And correct answers for the what does blue and yellow make? Good job, Anna, Thelma, and Denise. There's anybody else? Nope, just you three left the comment. Awesome. And if you even want to get a little bit more into the color wheel, definitely on my YouTube channel, type in color wheel and you'll see the example. And it goes through how to make it and how to mix your other colors. Okay, so we're going to leave Tweety Bird like that. We're going to actually move into a yellow-orange mixture here. He does have blue eyes and then kind of an orangish beak. And then we will be doing a black outline. And depending on how dry it is, I may do that black outline live or I'll do it afterwards. We'll see. So that orange is pretty bright. I don't want it that bright. So I pulled some orange aside. Now we're going to start adding some yellow to it and just walking you through the reverse mixture. We started with our dark and added our yellow. Again, just to give you different exposure to what you'll be working with as you paint more and more. Normally for color mixing, you start with your light color and then add your dark color. And as I apply this, I'm actually realizing it does need to be a little bit more orange. So if you go to apply it and then realize that it needs to be darker or lighter, you have full permission. You can adjust your color as needed. And right there, I'll definitely be doing 2 coats of that over the part where the blue mixed. And again, just to reiterate, it is easier if you let your background dry before you move into painting Tweety Bird. And also just to reiterate what I've mentioned in a few other demos, please do not try to keep up the pace that I am painting. I'm trying to keep these demos at under 40 minutes basically. So I paint a lot faster. So don't feel like you have to keep up with the live 30-minute demo and get everything done. It's totally okay to pause the video as you need to, take your time, enjoy the process. And maybe after you've been painting for a while, then maybe challenge yourself to keep up and paint as fast as I am. But in your beginning stages, take your time, enjoy the process. And if you enjoy the process, you're more likely to come back and do it again. And almost lost my mic again. My cat is enjoying playing with the cord. So during yesterday's demo, I think she grabbed it twice. So I'm at least catching her this time before she does it today. So we've got those little feet on there. We've got a little bit of a beak. And again, because I did do the black outlines, it is showing through the transparent paint, which just kind of helps a little bit as we do those outlines at the end. Okay. Very sorry about that. That was total cat issue. Thanks, Zuzu. Okay. So this is why we are going to be switching to more edited video for issues like this. Okay. And yes, I just saw the comment. I'm okay. I think she's more scared than anything. All right, let me adjust this. Okay, well, always interesting here. I think all the cords are out of the way. There we go. Okay. Well, hopefully you guys got a good laugh out of that. And I think Zuzu scared herself so much that she's not going to come back in here. All right, that was fun. Okay. Never a dull moment. All right, let me find my brush where I happen to put that down. Okay, I'll just grab a new one. Up after the craziness of the cat. Let's see, we've got nice light blue eyes we are going to put here. We are going to actually put some white paint on here. Oh, right, and I actually just realized we have the delayed reaction for what you guys see. So it's just now leveling back off. All right. Okay, so small pointy brush. We're going to pull a little bit of white aside, and you get to decide the shade of blue for Tweety Bird's eyes. And just gonna make, there we go, kind of a light blue. I might go a little bit darker. All right, and again, just kind of filling in on the eyes right here. And if you overlap black with that pupil, that's okay. We are gonna reapply it in the next step. And that will actually help kind of clean up the edges. All right, so clean that brush really good. We're going to do some exciting white on white painting. So we're going to fill this in with white just so we have something on the canvas, and then we'll go back in and I'll start with the outlines. And there's just a few places that I've got some wet blue paint, so I'll just apply it a little bit thicker on that. All right, so yeah, let me see. We got comments. Yes, my cat, she is the biggest scaredy cat, and she certainly scared herself. So I have a feeling she will not come next to the tripod for a long, long time. So she's definitely, let's see, she's just almost a year. So she's stepping into being a juvenile and a little cat, full-on cat instead of a kitten anymore. All right, so white paint, just put something on the canvas here. And every time I paint white paint on a white canvas, I can't remember the exact name of the play, but it was something like $1 million for a white canvas. And it was basically this satire play of an artist that basically painted white on a white canvas and sold them for a crazy profit. So I think of that literally every time I paint white on a white canvas. All right. So now as we move into the outline, since you're at home, I do recommend letting all this dry. It'll just make it easier for you. But we're going to go back out, make this a little bit thicker. So I want you overlapping a touch on the background and a touch on Tweety Bird on top of the subject. And literally we're just going to follow each one of those outlines. And as you're working with the pointy brush, play with your pressure. I'm going to recommend that you kind of treat it like a pencil and hold it almost perpendicular to the canvas. And then with that light pressure, you can create kind of a skinny line. I'm going to encourage you to try to go for even medium pressure, so that way we can make a slightly thicker line to overlap both areas. But if you happen to have some areas that are thicker lines and some areas that are not, don't worry about it. That's totally okay. Or rest your forearm against the edge of the table. I end up resting my forearm against the edge of the table. And remember to breathe. You're going to want to hold your breath. That will not help. And I'm trying not to hold my breath when I talk. You're definitely breathing. So if you're finding that you're kind of shaky as you are touching the canvas, that does mean that you're holding your breath. So exhale as you touch the brush to the canvas. And if you even want to do this in a different color, I think I had somebody do it in teal one time, red another time, not Tweety Bird, but different subjects. But feel free to switch it out. And you can see that probably every 2 or 3 brush strokes, I do grab more paint. And again, I'm trying to compensate for the wet paint that's still wet, opaque paint that I'm covering. So adjust whatever you need to for the supplies and tools that you are using. And I'm just now thinking that it was quite appropriate for my cat to freak out while I'm painting a bird. She probably didn't like it as much as she wanted to. It'd be perfect for Sylvester and Tweety with what happened. Except my cat is a Siamese, not a black and white tuxedo cat. There are some days when I was doing the demos in the beginning, especially, that my other cat, the older one, Chloe, would sing super loud, and she'd literally wait until I was started doing the intro speech for these little demos. And I was convinced that you guys could hear her, but you couldn't. So it's been interesting with the cats. All right, and if you are realizing that as you make these lines, maybe they're getting them bigger and bigger and bigger, take a look at your brush. Do you have a lot of buildup where the bristles meet the metal? If you do, just kind of clean that brush off. That'll bring those bristles back together. If you need to, you can fully clean it. But that just kind of helps if you're realizing that you're getting wider and wider. All right, so I am going to clean it off for this one. So I'm going to try to go for smaller brush strokes. And I'm going to see if that pointy brush is a little smaller. No. So move down. I actually grabbed a smaller pointy brush compared to what I was just using. But if you're still using the same one, for this one, I'm going to add a touch of water. And I want you to treat that brush like a pencil and use just the tip of it. So we're making smaller lines now. And if you add a little bit of water to your paint, it will help with the fluidity. But remember, you never want your brush dripping wet with water. So, and basically, don't really ever add more than 30% water to your paint. All right, so just going over these lines. And that should bring us into the conclusion of today's exciting painting with the little cat intermission. But no matter what you paint today, please photos, send them to paintwithlovejoy@gmail.com or tag me in the social media outlets. Share your paintings with your community members, encourage them to paint. Any educators, library staff out there, you are more than welcome to use any of my YouTube videos for your classes or your patrons. I just ask that you send me a picture of what everybody paints so I can post it on social media. So breathing as you do the eyeball outline. But I've got a couple of library groups in Georgia that have been using my videos and sending pictures, and they're just awesome. All right, so on here on the eye, we're outlining the outside edge, and then I am going to go back in and fill in that pupil. I will leave that white dot, and since it's a pretty large white dot, do your best to try to leave it. If you don't, if you end up painting over it with your paint, just let the black dry, and then you can reapply the catch light after it dries. And we've done that in some of the other demos. Oops. All right, and then we've got some little eyelashes and eyebrow. And then I'm going to take a little bit of white, just a few highlights on there, and then that should bring us to the conclusion of the painting today. All right, and again, those little eyebrow lines, they're tiny, so you're still working on your small pressure brush strokes. And if for any reason the black outline is extra challenging, you can always skip the brush and you can do it with a Sharpie marker. All right, cute looking Tweety Bird. All right, I'm gonna go back up to the little bit bigger pointy brush, white paint, and as we add these highlights, this is our last step. These don't have to be a perfect line. I'm just gonna put kind of choppy little highlights on here. So you don't have to match mine exactly, just kind of come in that general placement of where I'm putting these. And again, it's just a little pop of white. And on the yellow, it may not even be super obvious. And my orange of those little feet are still wet. Whoops, and I got a little bit in here. So if that happens to you, to where you got a little bit of maybe your orange or another color in there, just go back with the yellow, reapply, and you can even paint it right over that white. And if you needed to do a second coat of your yellow, go for it. All right. We've got a cute looking Tweety Bird who actually scared my cat, which was awesome. But yeah, that kind of brings us into the conclusion of today's painting. Turned out nice. I am still taking suggestions for the future videos and I'll get those out there. I'm hoping by the end of this weekend I should have this schedule for the next 2 months out, since I am moving down to just 3 to 4 days of the 11 a.m. demos. So, all right. Well, I hope everybody has a great day. I hope you enjoyed the painting and I look forward to painting with you tomorrow. And yeah, have a great day. Cheers.